I love movies about movies. Babylon, Cinema Paradiso, Paris When It Sizzles, and Saturday Night. I now have another movie to add to that pantheon. This movie is right up my alley, but I never realized it existed. I'm talking about Living in Oblivion. I'm sure I had heard of it, but one day I was catching up on frame.com and Living in Oblivion popped up. I rarely put anything on my watch list, but I threw it on there. A few days later, I decided to watch it without knowing anything more than the info on the Letterboxd page, and I was floored. On top of being a movie about movies, it was messy with loads of people talking and arguing, interpersonal relationships intertwined, all stuff I really like in a movie. I love the structure of this. The first third is trying to get one shot over and over again, but one little thing goes wrong each time. Then it's revealed our main character and the director of the movie, Nick, is just dreaming about everything that could go wrong. I normally hate dream sequences in movies. They exist to add drama without stakes, but that doesn't affect Living in Oblivion. The fact that it was such a large section of the movie solidifies it as canon in my head. It's not cheap. And the movie doesn't really care about making progress in the film Nick is making. The goal of the movie isn't to show you a complete process of a film being made, so a dream sequence doesn't take anything away from you. Then we hit the middle third, which is the weakest section of the movie, although it's still really good. Nicole, the main actress, is the focus of this part. Nick has to appease his actor Chad, frustrating Nicole. The scene continues to go wrong like in the first third. I enjoyed Nick having to feed into Chad's delusions, saying yes to the worst ideas ever because Chad needed to be in the movie. Nick talking about Chad being a great actor with great ideas. Chad and Nicole had sex earlier in the day. Chad hopes to continue, but Nicole is uninterested. She instead wants Nick. Why not throw a love triangle in here? A little cherry on top of all the other things I like. Chad and Nicole get into a big fight, leading to Nick beating up Chad and confessing his love for Nicole. The two kiss, but smash cut to Nicole waking up from her dream. Same exact structure as the first third. We get the crew trying and failing to get the shot they need in countless ways. But then it was all a dream. Once again, I don't mind the past 20 minutes of the film being a dream because it doesn't devalue or cheapen it in any way like most dream sequences in movies do. Then we move into the final third of this movie, and this is where everything starts to click. If the movie was cut off here, or stayed on the level it had been, I wouldn't have made this video probably. Up until now, it was a fine movie with a couple of laughs, but nothing that wowed me. Towards the end, this movie really picked up and solidified itself. We are introduced to the next scene they need to shoot. It's a dream sequence that Nicole's character has. A little person, Tito, walks around Nicole holding an apple, smoke machine going. That's right, it all being a dream ties directly into the climax of the movie, making the themes circular. As I was sitting there watching the first two thirds, I was still a little annoyed at the dreaming stuff. While being one of the least offensive uses of dreams in movies, I was still that little bit annoyed. Then they took it all back with this finale. Towards the start of this part, Nick talks about his dream, and how he has learned that you gotta roll with things. Stuff goes wrong on movie sets, especially low-budget indie sets like Nick is working on. Unfortunately, Nick does not roll with everything thrown at him. Tito, the little person, quits, frustrated with being typecast. Nick's old and senile mom shows up to set. Wolf, the drama queen cameraman, and Wanda, the assistant director, break up in the middle of filming a scene. Wolf is quite distracted, having lost his relationship with Wanda, and they have to keep working with her. Then the smoke machine catches on fire. Frustrated, Nick gives up and announces the movie is over, until his mom picks up the apple and takes Tito's spot. Wolf finally gets to go handheld, and Nicole knocks it out of the park with her performance. They haphazardly manage to pull everything together. Everyone prepares to move on until the sound guy says they haven't gotten room tone. He needs 30 seconds of pure silence. All of these crazy people on this set need to be quiet for only 30 seconds, which is really hard because none of them can ever shut up. This scene is honestly super tense. Somewhat shocking for this type of movie and a comedy to have such a tense scene towards the end. Feels like we are being primed for someone or something to make a sound and have to restart. All the frustration building up into one last fail after the victory we just had. But no, we get more of everyone daydreaming. The sound guy calls it good, and that's a wrap on that scene and the movie. I love this part because I was at the heightened sense of anticipation I had been the whole movie. Then there was a release, slowly bringing you down and onto the credits. There is no better way to end a movie than right after a release of emotion like this. I found this to speak to the artistic process quite a bit. Nick had a passion and vision for this film, but all art, particularly filmmaking, isn't that simple. Things don't just fall into the right place. Filmmaking is a collaborative art form for the most part, and Nick needs to rely on others. The boom guy who can't keep it out of shot, the prima donna actors, and the coolest camera guy ever in a beret. It doesn't matter how you envision it in your head. Once you get on set, problems pop up that forces you to adapt from your plans to overcome. Reminds me of my time with cruise shooting. Super relatable. I want to touch on some other aspects of the filmmaking that helped elevate the movie. The look of this thing. Infusing color into a dingy New York basement in a really unique way. They managed to pull off dirty but still make it look good through the use of color. Then the starting third being in black and white also looked good. This also happens to be one of the funniest movies ever. The writing in this is so quick and the delivery helps elevate that. The comedy really soars with Peter Dinklage as Tito and doubly so for Dermot Mulroney as Wolf. Wolf has messed up the shot a couple times, and he asks for a sidebar with Nick. Wolf tells Nick he needs to leave for a personal issue, talking about Wanda breaking up with him. Nick asks what the personal problem is, and Wolf makes the funniest face ever and nods to Wanda. I lost it. That singular face and head nod is funnier than anything I've ever thought of. And of course, I can't talk about the performances without mentioning the main man, Steve Buscemi. He led the movie with everything in him and gave a performance I didn't know he was capable of. The emotional center, and a chicken running around with his head cut off trying to appease everyone. Nick needs this movie to go well, and Steve Buscemi portrays a deep desire to see it go well. It's attached to his very livelihood. He slowly loses it as each mishap rears its head. I don't associate Steve with dramatic acting. I associate him with crazy eyes, but he proves himself in a lead role here. He also brings that comedy he is known for. After each mess up, he brings some relief and comedy to the viewers. It's a seesaw of a performance. This movie doesn't immediately feel like a 5-star movie, to be real. No one part of it is a true mastery of filmmaking, where every piece comes together to make an unforgettable one-of-a-kind movie. A story that spoke to me. I loved the characters, the directing, writing, and it was an absolute blast to watch. What more could I want out of a movie? It was a fun, mid-90s indie movie that hit me in just the right spots. Go watch Living in Oblivion. I think it should get talked about in a higher regard, similar to how we talk about other low-budget indies from the time, like Reservoir Dogs, Slacker, and Clerks. It deserves to be talked about more. I love Living in Oblivion. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed it, please subscribe. I have a goal of 3 whole new subscribers from this video. You could help out dramatically. If you subscribed, that's 1/3 of the goal. Also, leave a comment. I love talking about movies. If there's any movie you'd like me to review, send it my way. Movie reviews every Tuesdays, shorts most days, and occasional longer retrospective videos